The scarred moon of Vardoon dangled like a tarnished droplet in the endless black, quiet, save for the far-off rumble of strikes from orbit and the murmured invocations from my fellow warriors. As leader of the 8th Company, I guided 200 children of the dawn to seize back what had been taken. Yet, lurking among the Iron Legionaries was Corvus, a figure from my past unspoken for thousands of years, a comrade who had fought at my side in the grand campaign. Peering through the crimson filters of my helmet, I spotted him atop the ramparts, his plate a twisted parody of the gear we shared long ago. While explosive rounds howled across the sparse air and armor plating splintered, a grim doubt crept into my thoughts. If his dedication echoes my fervor, what line truly divides devotion from ruin? I used to think the Emperor's radiance could pierce the deepest shadows in a warrior's heart. Experience has taught me otherwise. There exist voids inside us that no light can touch. Empty voids etched by endless years of conflict. Voids haunted solely by lingering resonances. I understand this, having gazed into such voids, having glimpsed my own image gazing out. The fortress moon Vardoon floats as a corroded gem amid the abyss, its crust marked by craters from old assaults and fresh betrayal. From the observation port of our assault vessel, I observed transport shuttles gearing up for launch, their thrusters flaring brightly in the frigid vacuum. My comrades in the 8th Company align in flawless ranks, their golden plating spotless amid the scars of innumerable clashes on the alloy. They embody the sons of dawn, imperial fists, guardians against fear, and deliverers of the Emperor's fury. I am Captain Helios, their leader, their kin, their judge when honor requires it. Our mission brings us to Vardoon to restore what was stolen. Scout data warns of iron warriors, rebels against the Imperium, tainted offspring who rejected the Emperor's glow 10,000 years past. Those same dispatches reveal their command falls to someone styling himself Corvus, an appellation absent from my memory for eons, one I wished erased by ages and betrayal. My hand tightens unbidden on the grip of my energy blade. Captain Chaplain Thaddeus draws near, his death's head visor revealing no hint of the soul within. The troops seek your guidance. I incline my head, shifting from the emptiness to confront my kin. 200 Astartes tower before me, colossi amid mortals, each a mobile bastion of gene-wrought might and unbreakable conviction. They grasp only that we battle to wrest Vardoon from renegade clutches. They remain unaware of the figure awaiting me on those ruined parapets. Sons of dawn, my words echo through the hall without strain. The fortress moon Vardoon lies sullied by foes of humanity. 10 millennia back, our kin forsook the Emperor's light and chose perdition. Now we deliver justice. I sense their passion via the chapter's common link, a holy rage fiercer than the blaze of our descent capsules. Yet, under my shell, a forgotten feeling awakens, untouched since the era of the Great Crusade. Uncertainty. The Iron Warriors claim mastery of blockade tactics. They insist the barriers they erect and shatter mark them as fighters. I halt, surveying the stoic visages of my squadmates. They err. What shapes us is not the strongholds we guard, but the belief we hold. The Emperor shields. The Emperor shields. 200 tones reply as one. As we enter the descent pods, my mind wanders over the immense span of history to skirmishes shared with the very foes we pursue today. I recall Corvus in his prime, a reliable ally, true to his vows. What taint could sway such a fighter from his pledges, and if one like him could succumb, what defense do we possess from identical shadows? The pod trembles as launch sequences conclude. Brother Tavian, our squad's veteran bearer, holds the company banner steady in his enormous glove, its yellow cloth stirring faintly in the hangar's filtered breeze. "You appear burdened, Captain," he murmurs, volume hushed for my ears alone, echoes from the past no more. I lock my helmet, the ceiling rush stifling any more talk. Via the scarlet visors, reality shifts to a blood-hued veil, as if steeped in the gore we're about to unleash. The timer ticks down, each digit drawing us nearer to strife, to reprisal, to an encounter I've both feared and craved through ages of duty. 3. The rites of war scroll on my display, chants to sharpen focus and bind the spirit. 2. I inspect my stormbolter once more, certain of its flawlessness, as befits all works of the Sons of Dawn. 1. My pulse aligns with the rhythm, the superhuman frame of an Astartes readying for clash. The pod hurtles forth, and we plunge through vacuum, through skies, through recollections. I shut my eyes, though it alters naught within my cowl. In the shadows, in the recesses of my thoughts, visions of Corvus in his former glory emerge, positioned beside me atop the ramparts of a long-lost realm. We were both novices then, judged by the span of our extended existences. We shared an unshakable conviction in our mission. "Brother," he had remarked at that time, "do you ponder our fate once the stars bend to order, with no conflicts left to wage?" "Humanity's foes will never vanish," I had countered, "and will eternally oppose them." Those declarations now carry a searing regret. They foretold outcomes beyond my wildest foresight. The descent craft trembles fiercely upon piercing Vardoon's sparse air layer. The inferno of re-entry pales against the blaze of justified fury igniting within my comrades' souls. Auspec's alarms wail as enemy barrages claw toward us from below. The Iron Warriors have spent generations fortifying this instant, reshaping Vardoon into a testament of their perverse devotion. Dread evades me even as the vessel lurches from incoming strikes. Instead, an icy resolve grips me. I shall confront Corvus ere this clash concludes. "Brace yourselves," I broadcast via comms to my leadership team, while Varden's terrain hurtles upward. The pod crashes down with power to pulverize rock, its dampeners laboring against the ferocity of touchdown. For a fleeting instant, only the creak of alloys and the remote rumble of warfare fill the air. Abruptly, the entry ramp erupts open, propelling us forward. Our bolt guns unleash volleys at foes auto-detected by helmet interfaces. Renegade infantry perish in masses, their fragile bodies yielding instantly to explosive rounds that burst inside tissue. These foes serve merely as hurdles to sweep aside, fodder yielding to the blade. Over Vardoon's pockmarked expanse, additional pods unleash their deadly payloads. Golden plate shines faintly beneath the feeble glow of a remote star. Looming ahead stands Vardoon's chief bastion, an immense edifice of shadowed rock fused with tainted steel. Its barriers bear the eightfold sigil of Chaos Undivided. Quote 5. I direct over the Vox link. Quote 6. Conflict boils down to calculations and vectors, pressure exerted at vulnerability's core. Our sire, Rogel Dorn, instilled this doctrine in us, encoded deep in our essence. The Iron Warriors grasped this principle equally well, their Primarch once a virtuoso of beleaguerment prior to his descent. As we press onward through the death zone fronting the stronghold, hostile volleys escalate, projectiles whistle past, calculated strikes that highlight the prowess of our fallen kin. They've honed their expertise across 10,000 cycles, a full epic of animosity sharpening their resistance. An explosion erupts near enough to pepper my suit with fragments. Amid the haze and grit, my initial sight of energized plating atop the defenses materializes. The muted sheen of Iron Warriors gear discernible from afar. My systems magnify, scanning the ranks for a specific silhouette amid the garrison. Captain Apothecary Menon Voxes, his transmission slices the clamor of strife. East barrier proves thickly buttressed. Breacher teams note scant damage from opening salvos. I assimilate the data in a flash. Strategic paths bloom in my psyche like deadly blossoms unfurling. Shift attack forces northbound. Summon gunships for aerial aid on the eastern front. With directives dispatched, I guide my elite unit toward the north entrance, a colossal barrier of unyielding metal alloys, locked fast since the Iron Warriors seized this planet. Overhead, turret arrays follow our path. Stout guns and rapid firers belch destruction with relentless accuracy. Seek shelter, I order upon attaining the dubious haven of a ruined habitat block. From its fractured sides, the north path to the citadel unfolds plainly. My augmented senses detect the signature growl of Thunderhawk drives as reinforcements descend. Ordnance arcs toward the east barriers. "What catches your eye, Captain?" inquires Brother Tavian, clutching the banner resolutely amid the barrage. I hold my response, drawn to stirrings along the upper parapets by the north portal. One silhouette towers over the surrounding iron warriors, his plating festooned with battle spoils and chaos icons. From this remove, I know the posture, the breadth of those colossal pauldrons. Corvus, I murmur, the word a blend of invocation and malediction, as though it carries over the din. The form pivots, gazing straight at our spot. An unyielding assurance settles in me. Regardless of range, amid the fog and melee's disorder, he perceives me as sharply as I do him. Captain Tavian's call echoes distantly. Arm the fusion charges, I instruct, tone unwavering against the inner tempest. We force the north portal. Vardoon's sparse atmosphere. The atmosphere here muffles noise with ruthless efficiency. Still, I could almost vow that faint chuckles drift from those far-off ramparts, resonating through ages of enmity and treachery. My fingers clench harder around the hilt of my power sword as Brother Quran advances, lugging the Melta charges. His steps remain exact amid the barrage pouring from the battlements. This portal ahead isn't just an entry to the stronghold. It's a boundary separating history from now, loyalty from disloyalty. While Quran positions the explosives, my mind wanders again to forgotten eras, when Corvus and I fought shoulder to shoulder, our forces bound by common resolve. Quote 15. Quran signals over the Vox, yanking me into the moment. We hunker down beside the shattered Hab module as the Melta blasts erupt, roaring like collapsing suns. A searing glare swamps my augmented sight for an instant. Once my eyes adjust, the north gate looms shattered, its adamantium layers torn open like the blooms of an iron bloom. Inside waits shadow, a gullet plunging into the monster's core. For the Emperor and the Primarch, I broadcast to every squad. The path is clear. 8th Company, push ahead. Together, we surge toward the fractured entrance, weapons primed, resolve firm. The initial clash for Vardarken has ignited, carrying my overdue confrontation with history. Explosive rounds whistle above as we storm the north gate, their paths plotted for maximum ruin. The opening salvo claims 3 brothers, their plate pierced by ordnance straight from Stardust guns. I order the company to fan out, reducing exposure to the accurate shelling. Captain, Sergeant Octavian reports via Vox, foes' vehicles rolling from the east yard. Predators, no fewer than 3 squads on anti-tank duty. Flank to the east, I direct instantly. Command team, follow me to the Heart Citadel. Vardoon's bastion interior twists through a labyrinth of halls and death traps, each crafted to herd intruders into primed slaughter pits. In usual ops, I'd advance methodically, locking down zones one by one. Yet Corvus's aura tugs at me like an inescapable force, urging haste. We meet the initial Iron Warriors in a high-ceilinged room that may have served as a sanctuary in better days. Desecrating icons now mar the surfaces, and the atmosphere reeks of blood and electricity. Despite my helmet's purifiers, they burst from adjacent corridors, clad in rusted crimson and dulled steel. Their guns thunder. Cleanse the renegades, I transmit, my bolt pistol already barking. Every round strikes true against tainted armor. My command team arrays in a shooting front, controlled bursts mowing the lead assault. These aren't baseline humans. They're Astartes warped by the dark gods, deadlier for their perversion. They absorb our opener and unleash back, shells bursting on columns and stonework, spraying the space with rocky fragments. I ignite my power sword, its disruption aura buzzing alive like a swarm of furious insects. Melee range, I bark, leaping into the fray against our fallen siblings. The lead Iron Warrior crumples as my blade slices his torso plating, the field unraveling the atomic ties of armor and meat. His ichor sizzles on the charged edge, vaporizing on contact. Another rebel hacks a chain blade toward my crown, its grinding fangs hunting grip on my visor. I sidestep the strike and thrust upward into his neck's weak seal, the weapon bursting out the crown of his cranium. My escort duels with matching skill, each veteran honed by eons of conflict. Brother Quran goes down, his ribcage imploded by a thunderhammer from an especially hulking Iron Warrior. Chaplain Thaddeus claims payback, his Crozius Arcanum sparking as it smashes the enemy's helmet, pulverizing bone below. As the final Iron Warrior topples, we survey the slain among our twisted bloodline, gold plate smeared with conflict's marks. I tally swiftly, 2 lost, 1 injured, yet operational. Bearable toll against such opposition. Captain Apothecary Menon draws near, having extracted the progenoids from the deceased. Quote 22. I observe, glancing at our veteran who remains steadfast despite the tear in his suit from a shell's bite. I'll match your stride, Captain, he vows, banner aloft. I incline my head. Choice set. Onward to the core bastion. Transmit to all elements. Hold your zones and rally at the key target. Deeper in the stronghold, decay's traces grow stark. Surfaces throb with foul power, and now and then, peripheral shadows flicker, entities alien to this plane. The Iron Warriors were not exactly the staunchest followers of the chaotic forces. Their descent into madness stemmed more from arrogance and resentment than any true zeal for the dark. Still, the corruption is evident all around, a pervasive unease that grates on my nerves, piercing even the safeguards of my power armor. Captain, Brother Tavian's voice crackles over a secure Vox link. You recognize their commander. It's a statement, not an inquiry. The veteran has stood by my side for 300 years. He understands me far too deeply to be fooled by mere, impassive quiet. I did know him. My tone stays even, hiding the storm raging inside. During the Great Crusade era, prior to the betrayal, he belonged to the Iron Warriors. I served with the Imperial Fists, yet we battled as allies across a dozen planets. So this strikes close to home, Tavian notes. I weigh my reply with caution. Private grudges don't factor into the strategies of combat, but I can't refute the accuracy of his observation. The Iron Warriors abandoned the Emperor's guidance, I state at last, forsaking all we battled to defend, all we held dear. This isn't personal, veteran. This is retribution. As the declaration escapes my lips, I see it for the falsehood it represents. Tavian, however, shows the insight to drop the matter, and we press on wordlessly toward the fortress's core. The main citadel towers over the nearby buildings, its structure a grotesque mockery of imperial aesthetics. What ought to feature graceful vaults and pious supports has been warped into forms that strain the gaze, patterns hinting at alien realms seeping into our reality. At the summit, a transmission spire throbs with forbidden glow, sending some blasphemous signal into the emptiness. All squads, status update. I broadcast as we near the Citadel's primary gateway. A colossal portal decorated with the bones of slain fighters, including fragments of old Imperial Fists helmets on some. Squad leaders from the 8th Company respond in sequence. The east and west flanks are under control, but the toll was heavy. Close to 40 Astartes lost, their gene seed recovered by our apothecaries for delivery back to the chapter. The south entrance is still in dispute, Iron Warriors and tainted servitors clashing fiercely to keep their grip. Sergeant Lucius, bolster the southern front, I order, every other force, close in on the central bastion. We finish it here. As though responding to my directive, the huge gates ahead start to part, gliding without a sound despite their immense bulk. Past them stretches blackness blacker than interstellar space. Prepare yourselves, I caution, my bolt pistol at the ready, power sword thrumming with energy. The foe approaches. Out of the shadows come shapes clad in Terminator plate, relics of the ancient cataphractii designed from the Great Crusade days. Their gear shows scars from 10 millennia of conflict, but they stride forward with deadly intent as the Iron Warriors' premier survivors close in. Fire at will, I shout, and bolter rounds lance toward the Terminators. Many explode uselessly off their dense plating, though a few fortunate hits exploit flaws in the weathered ceramite. The Terminators fire back, storm bolters unleashing volleys with unrelenting accuracy. 2 members of my command team drop, their defenses useless against such superior firepower. Still, we stand firm. Astartes resolve pushing back the terror from the onrushing cataphractii. Withdraw to covered spots. I signal, realizing a direct clash with the Terminators is unwinnable. Lure them into exposed terrain. While my squad pulls back under fire, I spot a silhouette stepping from the gloom beyond the Terminators. Bigger than the hulking cataphracti themselves, his armor a debased take on Terminator armor, festooned with battle spoils and icons honoring the ruinous deities. Corvus, despite the warp-tainted distortions on his suit, I know his gait, the poise of his frame, the angle of his helm. 10,000 years have elapsed since we shared the field, but right now, it feels like mere hours ago. Helios, his amplified words boom across the fray, courtesy of his armor's vox arrays. Still cowering among your kin, eh? Certain habits die hard, fury surges through me, sharp and urgent. Exactly what he's aiming for, to goad me, to drag this into the realm of the intimate. I refuse to let him have that victory. Iron Warrior, I counter, my vox broadcasting with crisp efficiency. You've sullied this hallowed site with your foul taint. By the Emperor's will, you'll be cleansed. A laugh rings out from his helm, laced with scorn and emptiness. The Emperor, still chained to that rotting husk you worship as divine. I thought you'd aim higher, brother. You're no brother of mine. The denial burns like bile mixed with sorrow. You forfeited that bond when you rejected the light. The clash rages onward, imperial fists and iron warriors entwined in the deadly rhythm they've danced since the heresy's dawn. Yet in this instant, Wh40K holds just two fighters, Corvus and me, faithful servant and apostate, mirror images torn apart, separated by 10,000 years of clashing beliefs. You mention light. Corvus advances apace, his tainted terminator plate shifts with unexpected fluidity. But you obey without hesitation or doubt. At least I embraced my downfall willingly. Helios. Can you claim the same? Before I have a chance to reply, he lifts his enormous power maul, bolts of lightning dancing along its shaft. No more words. Let's resolve this like fighters, as we pledged long ago. The dare lingers in the space dividing us, a link spanning the chasm of disloyalty and ages past. I realize I ought to decline, to prioritize the strategic goal over a private duel. That would align with protocol, guided by the Codex Astartes and my Primarch's lessons. Yet I move ahead, hoisting my power sword in a gesture of respect. Very well, betrayer. We'll conclude what started 10 millennia back. Beneath his tainted visor, I picture Corvus grinning. The gap between us turns into a deadly arena as Corvus and I prowl in a circle, arms prepared. My squad and his Terminators have arranged a loose ring around the scene, persisting in their skirmish, yet aware of the deeper meaning in this clash. Leader against overlord, faithful against apostate, devotion against corruption. I grieved for you, sibling, I utter. The phrase slips out uncontrollably. When reports of the Iron Warrior's treachery arrived, I denied your fall. Foolish emotion, Corvus sneers, his power maul humming with restrained power. Yet another flaw the pretender emperor instilled in his thralls. He attacks without more notice. The maul swings in a sideward curve that could crush my chest if it lands. I slip within its reach, my power sword thrusting toward the seam at his arm joint, targeting the flaw in his Terminator shielding. Corvus moves quicker than his bulky armor implies, twisting to parry with the maul's handle. The clash jolts through my limb, the ceramite glove soaking up much of the force, though it tingles my fingers briefly. No victor yet, he chuckles, the tone echoing emptily via his helm's vox, reminiscent of our ancient sparring sessions. The nod to our common history sparks a rage within me, surpassing the detached logic of battle. I unleash a flurry of thrusts, each targeted at his armor's soft spots. Corvus deflects or evades everyone, his riposte is compelling me to retreat. We're dead even, forged in the same age of conflict, molded by identical strategies until the heresy splintered the legions. He matches every move I make. For each gap in his guard, I find no way to strike true. You battle decently for an antique, Corvus mocks as we pull apart for a breath, each scanning for fatigue. How long have you wielded that sword, Helios? How many turncoats have you slain while convincing yourself of a noble purpose? Too many to tally, I retort, shifting left to make him turn his heavy frame, and I'll notch another before sunset. He cackles once more, warped by his helm's speakers, ever so convinced of your virtue. That was your eternal shortcoming, kin. Blind obedience, endless trust, the ideal offspring. His barbs hit nearer the mark than I'd like. Uncertainty has trailed me through these endless years, unspoken to anyone. What divides my conviction from his lunacy? Aren't we both slayers forged by forces we can't grasp? That fleeting reflection almost dooms me as Corvus charges, his maul targeted not at my form but my headgear. I drop low under the swing, sensing the electric hum as it whooshes overhead. My riposte hits his flank, the power sword carving through marred ceramite into the meat below. First, wound for the loyal. Corvus groans in agony but presses on, whirling to slam his maul from above, which I just managed to fend off with my weapon. The force buckles my knee. My sword's energy clashes shrilly against the maul's might. "You draw my blood, I shatter you," Corvus growls, exploiting his edge, leveraging his Terminator suit's mass to overwhelm my defense. "An even trade, wouldn't you say?" I grit out. "Nothing fair comes from you, renegade. You discarded all we fought for, all our ideals." "I witnessed reality," he rasps, his visor now mere breaths from mine as he bears down. "The Emperor was no deity, Helios, merely a mortal with divine delusions, offering his children to fuel his vanity." Fury fuels my push, and I rise sharply, shattering his stance and raking his torso plating. The strike etches a searing gash in the ceramite, yet stops short of deeper harm. Corvus replies with a reverse maul swipe that clips my pauldron. The blow hurls me stumbling backward, several strides away. Alert glyphs flicker on my helmet's visor. Left shoulder guard's structural integrity is failing. Slight injury to the muscle below. Hardly enough to stop a space marine, yet it serves as a stark alert that Corvius possesses the skill to finish me if I err gravely. In the surrounding chaos, the struggle for the main stronghold rages on. Over the Vox channel, updates filter in about Imperial fists, penetrating the higher floors amid savage clashes in the fortress's hallways and rooms. Yet in this makeshift battleground, nothing exists but our confrontation, a mirror to paths untaken and fates fulfilled. "Recall Tarsus Ultra?" Corvus inquires abruptly, prowling around me like a hunter, certain of its quarry's doom. "The war against the Orc Empire." "I do," I reply, seizing the pause to evaluate my armor's wounds and devise my following assaults. "For 3 months we battled together. Your iron warriors guarded the eastern flanks as my imperial fists claimed the hive towers. And afterward, Corvus presses on. We drank wine pilfered from a planetary governor's hidden stock. You voiced your dreams for the Great Crusade, the Imperium we were forging. Such pure conviction." The recollection surges unbidden. Corvus unmasked, his features free of taint, gaze sharp and resolute as we pondered the Imperium's destiny under our shared banner. How did that fighter descend into such depths? How did that bond twist into this venomous hatred? "The history is gone," I declare, shoving the vision away, "as are you." I surge ahead, feinting upward before slashing low toward his thighs. Corvus foresees the tactic, retreating while swinging his maul down at my outstretched limb. I twist away, the weapon smashing a pit into the stone where I'd stood a heartbeat prior. Rising swiftly, I renew the onslaught, blows chain seamlessly, my power sword a streak of humming plasma, probing for flaws in his guard. Corvus yields terrain, his actions shifting to pure defense as he endures the barrage. For a fleeting second, I sense his defeat. My edge breaches his shield, targeting the seam at his throat. Triumph appears assured. Then, agony erupts on my right flank from a bolt round bursting against my plating. One of his Terminators shattering the unspoken code of our single combat. The interruption lasts a breath, but suffices for Corvus to retaliate, his maul slamming firm into my breastplate. Ceramite fractures under the strike, bones snap as the brutal force hurls me rearward. My spine slams a column, and I slump to the floor, dazed by the toll. Alert glyphs flood my visor, numerous breaks, bleeding within, armor failing at 17 points. The suit's automed injects boosters and analgesics, yet they can't wholly offset such harm. Corvus advances at a measured pace, assured, his maul dangling casually. Thus, it concludes, brother, not through clashing philosophies, but via raw force's unyielding reality. The mighty endure, the frail fall. The soul rule, the stars heed. I attempt to stand, propping on my sword, but my form won't obey with its prior precision. Amid the torment and stim rush, I gaze upward at him, the twisted echo of the comrade I once recognized. "If you accepted that creed," I rasp through gritted teeth, "you'd have slain me by now. Something restrains you, Corvus, a lingering trace of our mutual vow." He angles his helm, mulling. "Maybe so, or maybe I crave your comprehension before death claims you, to admit your belief was false, that your ages of loyalty fed a grand deception." Even supposing that's accurate, I retort, at last planting one boot under me. It alters naught. Preferable to perish upholding a grand illusion than to exist enslaved by your poisoned reality. Fury ripples his stance, his maul lifting for the fatal swing. Then, perish clutching your delusions, Imperial fist. The maul plummets, its energy aura warping the air behind it. Drawing on my final reserves, I twist from my crouch, my power sword ascending to clash. The blades meet in a boom like thunder's roar, energy fields clashing in mysteries the Mechanicus can't unravel. For a heartbeat, we lock in stasis, the betrayer set to slay, the defender issuing last resistance. Then, my sword's field surges beyond limits. The crystal core can't resist the counterforce. It bursts. Shards of alloy fly as the maul arcs on, but the split-second pause avails me. I evade, the maul cratering the spot I'd occupied. Tiles splinter from the impact's power, fresh torment rips through me from the shift, shattered ribs scrape despite the armor's bracing supports. Now completely without my weapons except for the bolt pistol, I confront Corvus, knowing it'll prove almost worthless against his Terminator armor unless I spot a weak spot up close. A brave attempt, he concedes, picking up his maul from the broken ground, yet doomed to fail, just like every offering your misguided emperor ever required. He steps forward again, his strides deliberate and resounding with inevitability in the space around us. I realize the clamor of the fight has shifted. The Vox crackles with updates of Imperial forces, driving the Iron Warriors into retreat across every sector, triumph almost ours. If I can just hold him off a bit more, my fellow Astartes might show up to swing our duel in my favor. Your troops are getting crushed, I say to him, backing away steadily while scanning the surroundings for any edge. Give up while you can. Meet the Emperor's judgment instead of dying by the hands of his loyal sons. Corvus's laugh rasps like steel scraping on steel. Judgment from an Imperium that's turned into everything we rebelled against long ago. Your Emperor aimed to liberate mankind from old fears and despotism. See what his realm has morphed into, a cult of terror, a machine of suppression. His statements stir the very doubts I've wrestled with in my bleakest hours, the unspoken queries I've buried deep. Has the Imperium really upheld the Emperor's ideals? Or have we twisted into something unrecognizable during his endless vigil? The Emperor protects, I reply on instinct, the sacred litanies serving as a barrier against uncertainty as much as against his barbs. The Emperor is gone, Corvus retorts, his corpse a decaying shell, his ideals twisted by those pretending loyalty. At least the deities I follow don't hide what they are. He surges ahead, quicker than his massive frame implies. The maul swings in a wide, level path, aimed to cleave me at the midsection. I hurl myself back, slamming onto my wounded flank, agony surging even through the stimulants in my veins. I raise my bolt pistol and unleash 3 shots in rapid fire toward his helmet. The initial pair erupt on the ceramite, scorching it but causing minimal harm. The last one hits a flaw from our prior clash and bursts open. Corvus bellows in agony and fury, his spare hand clutching at the fractured helm. I notice one of his visor lenses is cracked, exposing the taint inside. Not the pure cybernetics of a true space marine, but something twisted by chaos. A flash of deformity that hints at the cost of his devotion. First strike to us both, I declare, mirroring his prior mockery as I fight to stand. He answers with a voiceless howl of wrath, barreling toward me. All hints of controlled fighting vanish, replaced by brutal fury. The maul hammers down in a barrage of crushing strikes, each dodged by inches as I retreat from his onslaught. My pistol runs dry after 2 additional blasts, both missing any soft target. I toss it away, now utterly exposed to his onslaught. But I'm far from helpless. 10,000 years of conflict have shown me that a fighter's true arsenal isn't the sword or gun, but the cunning of his thoughts. Corvus's anger renders him foreseeable, his assaults mighty yet robbed of the accuracy from our initial bout. I bide my time for the sequence to form, for the beat of his barrage to expose itself. When the moment arrives, I act. As the maul arcs down in yet another crushing overhead blow, I slip within his reach, my armored fist seizing his forearm. For a heartbeat, we're frozen in struggle, his greater power slowly overpowering my frantic hold. But my goal wasn't to halt it, only to redirect. The maul smashes into the deck nearby, its power field unraveling the atoms of the surface. In one fluid action, I slam the armored ridges of my other hand into the breached part of his helmet, aiming for the revealed optic and the soft tissue below. Corvus shrieks, a cry of torment and wrath reverberating off the high ceilings. He reels away, helm askew, offering brief views of the visage underneath. What greets me freezes my blood worse than any peril. Not the comrade from my past, but a monstrosity donning his traits like a poorly tailored disguise. The skin distorted by warp exposure. One orb, a bloated mass of altered flesh. Is this the prize for your devotion? I demand, seizing the brief upper hand with rhetoric since my arms are bare. This perversion, this gradual erosion of all that defined you as an Astartes. You comprehend nothing, Corvus growls, his tone warped by suffering and the helm's ruin. This is elevation, not decay. The gods grant belief with strength, with change. What has your emperor bestowed but ceaseless strife and obligation devoid of meaning? He rips away the destroyed helmet, flinging it disdainfully. The countenance below is a horrific echo of the battle brother I remembered, his hide pulled taut across reshaped bones, veins throbbing with alien vigor plain under the skin. One eye stays mortal, seething with fury and a twisted acknowledgement. The figure before him has morphed into an undulating mass of flesh, one that appears to sense realms far beyond human grasp. Behold me, Helios, he orders, extending his limbs broadly. I have transcended what we once were as the Emperor's instruments. The Iron Warriors find power in hardship, in agony, in metamorphosis. What do the Imperial fists cling to besides inertia? I can't tear my gaze from the wreckage of his visage, from the sibling buried under veils of decay. We uphold responsibility, I retort, my tone firm even amid the ache of my wounds. We uphold the barriers that shield mankind. We resist the shadow you have invited into your spirit. Corvus chuckles, the noise damp and unnatural from a larynx that's no longer wholly mortal. Shadow? You label it shadow out of dread for the unknown. The warp isn't malevolent, brother. It just exists. Like a tempest or blaze, it ravages and reshapes. The gods lack spite, they're simply ravenous. And you nourish them, I declare, moving in a cautious circle, scanning for any object that could double as an armament, through treachery, torment, demise. Just as you sustain your corpse emperor, he retorts, grasping his maul once more, through unquestioning loyalty, through ceaseless offerings, through the gradual erosion of your essence. Tell me, Helios, when did you last experience delight? Genuine delight, not the icy fulfillment of obligation met. The inquiry cuts sharper than any edge, delving into the heart of uncertainties I've suppressed across ages of devotion. When was the last time I sensed anything past the objective, beyond the ensuing clash, the forthcoming conflict? Has allegiance to the Emperor emptied me as completely as chaos has warped Corvus? Delight serves no role in our being, I respond, the litany rolling off my lips with ease. We were forged for combat, brother, to safeguard humanity from the void's abyss and the foe lurking inside. Forged for combat, Corvus echoes, pressing forward again, his motions more deliberate now that the first surge of wrath has ebbed. Fashioned as armaments by an entity who professed love for humanity, yet erected his realm atop the remains of countless souls. At least my gods admit their appetite openly. I offer no rebuttal, no riposte to the harsh reality woven into his statements. We were designed for carnage, genetically crafted and trained to slay without pause or regret. Does the virtue of our mission truly distinguish us from the fallen, or is it only the fortune of whose Primarch's lineage courses through our blood? That instant of existential doubt exacts a price. Corvus lashes out, his maul arcing from the flank with velocity that defies his Terminator armor. I try to evade, but my battered frame reacts with sluggishness. The blow slams into my flank. Ceramites splintering more as I'm flung through the room to slam into the distant barrier. Obscurity looms to consume me. My augmented biology battles wounds that would fell an ordinary human in a heartbeat. The automated mechanisms in my suit pump my veins with stimulants, compelling awareness to persist against my form's defiance. I taste blood laced with the heritage of Rogel Dorn. Amid the crimson fog of torment, I watch Corvus draw near, his tainted countenance contorted in what could be remorse or just the thrill of a pursuit drawing to a close. "This isn't the conclusion I envisioned for us," he states, looming above me, maul poised for the fatal blow. "In some alternate existence, we could have remained allies, shoulder to shoulder against the galaxy's perils." "There's just this one existence," I gasp, each syllable a battle against the pressure in my torso, the sensation of liquid where solidity ought to reign. One route, one obligation, and you've trailed it to your demise. Corvus hefts the maul, the downfall of the Imperial fists, too rigid to recognize defeat. As the maul commences its descent, a burst of yellow catches the edge of my sight. Brother Tavian, injured yet resolute, barrels into Corvus bearing the full brunt of his power armor. The company standard thrust ahead like a spear. The collision reels even Corvus within his terminator plate, shoving him back a few paces from my fallen position. Captain Tavian voxes, placing himself as a shield between me and the tainted overlord. Reinforcements approach, stand firm. Optimism ignites inside me, not for my endurance, but for the objective. Should Corvus perish, the Iron Warriors forfeit their commander, their emblematic tie to the heresy era. Wh40K might be purified, restored to the Emperor's radiance. Corvus regains his footing swiftly, his maul swinging toward Tavian with deadly purpose. The veteran deflects it, using the adamantium shaft of the standard. The clash transmits tremors through the alloy, visible in the quivering banner overhead. Another sacrifice for the abattoir. Corvus growls, intensifying his assault on the beleaguered veteran. "Your captain can't even rescue himself. What chance do you hold?" "The chance of the just?" Tavian counters, his voe. He remains composed amid the savage onslaught bearing down on him. The familiar mantra, "The Emperor protects," resonates with fresh significance right then. No mere declaration of reality, but a declaration of conviction, a willful commitment to trust amid mounting proof otherwise. The Emperor safeguards via his heirs, via their unwavering commitment and loyalty, via the enduring lineage of obligations spanning countless ages. Leaning against the barrier for leverage, I compel my frame upright. Every motion unleashes new surges of agony across my wounded form. Unarmed, victory over Corvus lies beyond reach. Yet maybe confrontation isn't required. The core citadel trembles violently nearby, particles cascading from the arched roof as blasts shake its foundations. Via my Vox, updates flood in. Imperial fists infiltrating the higher tiers, frantic clashes as the Iron Warriors retreat across every sector. Quote 27. I declare to Corvus, pulling his gaze back toward me. Quote 28. Fury ignites in his warped visage, his remaining human orb constricting with loathing. Quote 29. He shifts from Tavian, his attention locks onto me once again, onto the echo of his former self. Quote 30. I step clear of the wall, demanding compliance from my protesting physique, repeating as often as demanded until the final deserter topples and the Emperor's retribution concludes. Corvus chuckles. The noise reverberates oddly within the domed hall. Retribution? No retribution exists in this cosmos, brother, merely dominance and the frail who shun its pursuit. He hoists his maul, readying a lunge. Allow me to reveal the essence of dominance. As he propels ahead, the overhead span erupts downward, fragments of stone and alloy cascading as a penetration explosive ignites. From the fresh breach, troopers of Tactical Squad Invictus rappel in, their bolters barking rounds while they drop. Explosive projectiles hammer Corvus's terminator plating, many bursting ineffectually off the time-worn ceramite, yet compelling him to shield his vulnerable countenance with a forearm. Seizing that lapse in vigilance, Tavian lunges, jamming the banner's sharpened foot into a weakened seam of the Terminator suit at the arm-torso juncture, eroded by eons of combat that compromised the shielding. Corvus bellows in torment, swatting Tavian aside with force sufficient to hurl the veteran against a close column. The banner slips from slackened grasp as Tavian collapses, his helmet fractured to expose the features below, his stare dimming with encroaching demise. "For the Emperor," Tavian murmurs, the words reaching me via the faulty Vox, his eyes locked on a vision transcending the material plane. Sorrow and fury clash inside me, yet I suppress them both, channeling my mind to the combat dynamics with the rigor honed over 10,000 years of strife. Squad Invictus establishes a defensive array, bolters persistently zeroing on Corvus, despite the Iron Warrior advancing with deadly intent toward them. Two Astartes crumple under his maul's swing before dodging, their ceramite and tissue mangled by the power field's havoc. A third reels from a backhanded blow potent enough to fracture his torso despite the plating. Yet they keep shooting. Yet they hold firm, trading moments with their vitality, moments for my use. I claim the discarded banner, its heft reassuring in my grasp, untouched since my sergeant tenure ages past. The gilded Aquila crowning it shines through the haze of grit and rubble, an emblem of the Imperium's resilience, of belief upheld through epochs of shadow. Corvus pivots at my nearing footfalls, his tainted expression contorting into a grin devoid of mirth, brimming solely with the promise of brutality. Quote 34. Quote 35. I counter, aligning the banner as a lance. Quote 36. I rush forth, expending my final vigor, the dregs of power my ravaged body can muster. The banner's spike, meant for ceremonial anchoring in soil, now serves as a blade targeting the flaw Tavian exposed. Corvus swings his maul to counter, but the banner's span outstretches his tool. The adamantium point breaches the flawed seam in his Terminator armor, slicing into the tainted tissue below, burrowing profoundly into his core. His blow veers astray as anguish throws off his precision. The maul's energy aura sparks uselessly to my side. I cling to the banner, leveraging my drive and mass to thrust it further, guaranteeing a lethal injury, even against an augmented entity like an Astartes. Corvus releases his maul, his armored fists reaching out to seize the shaft of the banner jutting from his torso. Crimson fluid, thicker and more ominous than normal, laced with the sharp tang of metal and electricity, seeps from the injury, pooling on the ground separating us. A solid hit, he rasps, his words gurgling through the gore in his mouth, his mortal gaze locking onto mine with a flicker of admiration, maybe an appropriate conclusion, felled by the emblem of the cause I used to uphold. I keep my hold on the banner firm, refusing to let go until I'm sure he won't rally. It's never too late to beg the Emperor's mercy, brother. Even at this point, salvation might still be within reach. Corvus chuckles, the noise frothy with blood. Salvation. After 10,000 years battling the Imperium, your Emperor offers no pardon to Helios. He delivers retribution. He devours, much like my deities. His tainted eye appears to throb with eerie power, the twisting flesh zeroing in on me with hostile purpose. Yet, maybe redemption takes another shape. One last offering from one brother to another. Before I can respond, his arm lashes forward, the Kamite glove clamping down on my neck with bone-crushing might. I sense my armor's collar starting to deform from the strain, detect the initial signs of air starvation, even with my augmented body. Behold what I have witnessed, Corvus murmurs, his tone no longer fully his, laced with undertones of something ancient and ravenous echoing below the surface. Understand what I have understood. The warped eye swells, the fabric of existence twisting in its vicinity as the mass squirms and beats. I attempt to avert my gaze, to shut my lids against the baleful force he's trying to unleash, but my form won't comply. Instead, I'm drawn inexorably into that aberrant sphere, tumbling into abysses that defy the laws of physical space. A barrage of images invades my thoughts, shards of recollection and horror fused together. Through Corvus's perspective, I witness the assault on Terra, the raw fury and despair of the Iron Warriors as they hurled themselves at fortifications held by their own kin. I taste Perturabo's resentment. The Primarch's fury over imagined insults metastasizing into a toxin that poisoned his whole chapter. Probing further, I catch sight of the beings lurking past the barrier of existence. Colossal, voracious minds that thrive on feelings and convictions, divinities or just warp-born hunters. Their essence eludes human grasp, their taint propagates via frailty and craving. This is reality. Corvus's voice cuts through the chaos of revelations. The gods exist, Helios, far more tangibly than your emperor, who broods mutely on his seat as the Imperium decays in his shadow. Drawing on my fading reserves, I wrench the banner, tearing the gash in his torso wider. Corvus wheezes, his clasp on my neck slackening for an instant as agony fractures his focus. I wrench away, stumbling clear of his poisonous aura, away from the horrors he aimed to etch into my psyche. The Emperor's shields, I murmur. The litany, my bulwark versus the residual grasp of the illusions he unveiled. His radiance defies the void. Corvus drops to his knees, his Terminator plate too burdensome now that his vigor ebbs. With his vitality gone, the banner stays embedded in his ribcage, the gilded Aquila crowning it, flecked with his tainted ichor. His radiance, Corvus hacks up, fresh blood cascading from his mouth. What radiance, brother? I perceive nothing but gloom, nothing but ceaseless conflict, devoid of meaning or aim. Meaning aplenty, I reply, stepping forward to loom above him, compelled by obligation and kinship to observe his end. To resist the monster you've turned into, to safeguard mankind from the abyss that seized you. He tilts his head toward me, his natural eyes sharpening for a fleeting second, a trace of the fighter he used to be surfacing amid the decay. We might have amounted to greater things, Helios, beyond mere tools, beyond thralls to indifferent powers. Possibly, I concede, the confession pulled from some buried core inside. Yet this is the course set for us by the Emperor, by your shadowed patrons, by our own decisions along the way. Corvus inclines his head, the motion carrying a strange nobility amid his shattered frame. The endless conflict endures, brother, with or without my part in it. Keep that in mind when you tout your empty triumph. His gaze fades, the rot that fueled him dissipating as mortality reclaims his essence. The altered eye implodes inward, forming a vacant hollow that gapes sightlessly at emptiness. In passing, his face evens out, portions of the blight withdrawing to uncover hints of the comrade I once recognized. I linger above his corpse for an extended beat, turmoil churning inside, triumph at the win, sorrow for the ally vanished epochs past, doubt over the apparitions he thrust upon me. Did those displays hold any kernel of verity, or were they just the deceptions of chaos, crafted to erode conviction and determination? The core fortress quakes around us as the clash for Vardarden nears its climax. Over my Voxlink, I catch updates of iron warriors retreating to their last strongholds with Imperial fists advancing. Advancing with fervent determination, Captain, a voice calls out to me. Sergeant Octavian from Squad Invictus draws near with caution. The foe's commander lies defeated, I reply, my tone more composed than my inner turmoil. Alert every team, surge onward, the rebels shatter without their overlord. Octavian offers a salute, pivoting to pass along my commands as his unit locks down the room. I drop to one knee by Corvus's remains, not out of reverence for his twisted fate, but to honor the man he once embodied. With deliberate care, I reclaim the company banner, cleansing its shaft of the tainted gore using a torn fragment of fabric. The golden Aquila shines faintly in the dim glow, embodying the cause I've defended through 10,000 years of duty. Still, Corvus's parting remarks linger in my thoughts, turning this triumph into an empty one amid perpetual conflict. Have we truly achieved anything here? Just another bastion retaken, another adversary vanquished, while the great war rages on in distant realms. I dismiss the notion, turning my attention to the present. Brother Tavian rests where he perished, his gene seed extracted swiftly by an apothecary working methodically through the casualties. The veteran perished true to his nature, devoted to the Emperor and the chapter until the end. No nobler purpose exists for a son of dawn. Standing tall, I embed the standard at the chamber's heart, reasserting Vardun's allegiance to the Imperium. The fight will drag on for hours or days as the surviving Iron Warriors are pursued and eradicated, yet the result hangs no longer in balance. Triumph is ours, the Imperial fists, the Imperiums, the Emperors. Even so, positioned under the banner, its cloth stirring gently in drafts from the broken roof overhead, I can't dispel the sense that Corvus and I shared more similarities than divides. Both forged in war's unyielding crucible, both committed to grander principles, both prepared to slay and perish for them. What divides the steadfast from the cursed? Is it simply the deities we pledge to, the flags we bear, or something deeper, a spark of humanity that endures only in those bathed in the Emperor's radiance? I lack resolutions, merely queries that dare not be spoken. Skepticism marks the initial tread toward damnation, as the chaplains instruct. Belief demands unwavering hold, particularly amid ambiguity. The Emperor safeguards, I murmur, reciting the litany as both vow and supplication. Nearby, the sons of dawn press deeper into the ruined stronghold. Their bolters roar, enacting the Emperor's retribution upon those who spurned his glow. I recover my bolt pistol, inspecting its action before securing it again. My power sword rests in fragments where it dropped, now fit only as a memento for the chapter's vaults. It matters little. Fresh arms await, along with fresh clashes and fresh foes to confront in the Emperor's service. The long war endures, as Corvus observed, whether we persist or not. It churns through the cosmos, devouring lives and planets in its path. All we, or any, can manage is to resist the shadows wherever they emerge. Cling to our vows amid uncertainty and suffering, and hope our devotion fulfills a design beyond our grasp. In the bleak void of distant tomorrows, war alone prevails. We serve as its tools, faithful and fallen indistinguishable, chained to our destinies by decisions forged eons past by divinities indifferent to the fallen in their cause. As I stride to unite with my kin in the closing assault on the Iron Warriors, I spare a final look at Corvus's form. In passing, he appears diminished. The warp's enhancements wane, exposing the frail human beneath the abomination. Farewell, brother, I utter quietly, words for my solitude alone. May death grant you the tranquility life denied. Then, I pivot toward the clamor of bolter blasts and the obligations ahead. Vardoon's fortress moon shall be purified. The imperial fists resume their timeless watch, and I shall persist in service, in combat, in conviction. For belief alone wards off the abyss. Belief, and the resolve to perish upholding it, the Emperor protects. Or so we affirm in this realm of ceaseless strife and ephemeral gains.